It is the Courtesan type from OIR00 who focuses on buffing the mastery of combat from long range and up close and personal. It is OIR00 Arinsu Dayuu, with a kit of a super repair, shoot boost, fight boost, tank legs, and the leg ability of charm, which grants a damage reduction for when taking damage from bots of the opposite gender. Now, Arinsu Dayuu was actually an event reward from a pretty fair bit of time ago, but even despite that, still offers some moderately solid buffs that not only are able to be stacked with each other as separate buffs, but also in a way that grants a good advocate, and it serves as a great advocate for rainbow-based teams, so to speak. Super Repair is a healing-based skill that is a much more efficient version of basic repair, and as such will yield a much higher efficiency when restoring lost HP to damaged but not broken parts. And also, in addition to this, will also grant more of a bonus since it is tied with the healing skill of the metal. Shoot Boost is a support-based skill that, when used, will buff the shooting damage of herself and all allies by about 20% or so, and her left arm of Fight Boost does more or less the exact same thing, but instead to all allies' melee-based attacks. And just between these two skills alone makes her very, very well-rounded as a dominant and exclusive support-based fighter. But that unfortunately is kind of where her overall utility kind of ends to a point, with the exclusion of Super Repair for healing every once in a while. Tank legs, however, do give Arinsu Dayuu a very solid coverage across all terrains, of course having no bonus on any terrains, but the passive 30% damage reduction that she gets as being a tank-legged type bot means that she's definitely going to be able to hold her own on the field moderately well, with a very solid form of damage reduction when on the field. In addition to this, when also taking damage from male-type bots, she will get an additional damage reduction, which will make her even harder to kill by about, I'd say, 60 or 70% or so of most bots currently in-game, or more or less as part of the roster as a whole, from Medarot's early beginnings to even today in Medarot S. As a pure set score, I do honestly have to rate Arinsu Dayuu, unfortunately, about a 4.5 out of 10, given that she does have some very solid buffs that, as mentioned, can stack with each other, since they are completely separate buffs and bonuses. That unfortunately is kind of where her overall viability ends, because once those buffs are applied, there really is no further use for her on the field except for spot healing, and even at that point, with it being a head-based use with Super Repair, she only gets a certain number of charges with Super Repair before she even runs out of that, and her utility on the field does truly come to an end, and she honestly becomes nothing more than just an occasional and hopeful damage sponge. As mixed parts, on the other hand, I do have to rate her a little higher at a 5 out of 10, given that even though tank legs I tend to grade somewhat harshly, tank leg with charm ability actually is very nice for a very conditional, massive damage reduction. The 30% stackable is already kind of a given and a guaranteed, but if you're facing anyone that is using a male-type bot, say use these legs on a female-dominant team, it's definitely going to be very hard-pressed for them to break you anytime soon, since you're going to have very high damage reduction at base, and an additional relative to if a male bot is fighting you or not. In addition to this, her arms actually can be considered useful to a point if you choose to use them on a dominant supporter-based type that will serve no further purpose in battle. But at that point, I would also kind of question how badly you want to use those parts when there are, of course, other buffs you can use, such as, say, Hypercrept, say, with Scorpio, if that's a possibility, or even Precognition with Silbalile, if that's something else. And even if something further, say Dominion, say with Sadahime, if you want to stay within the realm of female only.